Absolutely, that's a good idea.
Thanks.
Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this series of webinars. Let me introduce the presenters, Jeff Morel, who is our solution consultant, Matthew Wright, who is our automation product manager for Orange County, and myself, Sergio Luna, the product manager for San Diego. We have also had support from other product managers, industrial controls, motion, and drives. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about modernization, as we know that many of our customers have legacy systems, and we want to be sure that we provide with all the necessary information to both protect your investments and migrate to newer technologies that we have available. Some logistics, all the microphones will be muted. In case you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. Or just put it in the chat and then we'll answer those. And then at the end of the presentation, hopefully we'll have some time and then we'll open the microphones in case that there are some live questions, okay? And again, thank you for joining us in the seminar. So let me just take a moment and set a baseline so that we understand the sheer size of the modernization need. We're going to be using quite a bit of studies from different companies, and according to one of them, ARC Advisor Group, the total number of PLCs installed by 2015 exceeded 50 million units. These units are varying sizes. The largest quantity, of course, being small controllers like MicroLogix, different, members of that family. Now, can you guess the installed base if we add panel views, HMIs, drives, computers that are part of an automation system? However, there is more than $20 billion of large PLCs installed in the industry. 2/3 of those were installed from roughly 2004 through 2012. And according to ARC again, in 2015, we started to see a replacement of those large controllers at an increasing rate. We at OneSource have assisted lots of customers migrating, PLC 5s, SLCs, 1336 drives, motion controllers, industrial control stuff during that period. Matt Wright will cover some of these products in a few minutes. Additionally, ARC noted that the search of replacement will last through 2030. However, with the pandemic, we don't know exactly what is going to happen, but for sure there's a lot of time for this migration. There are many businesses, risks, and drivers that are challenging companies today. I'm assuming that you have one of those risks, one of those thoughts right now. Lots of automation systems have reached the end of their life. Many of these systems were never designed to be connected into a network. Let's just talk about PLC 5s. And of course, they were never thought to security. I do remember a lot of customers with PLC 5s, SLCs, just connected on DH Plus or DH485, just to make it easy to download, upload, and troubleshoot systems. But there was no intention to collect data or things like that. 75% of the plants in the US are over 20 years old. Can you get the information out of those old assets right now? Can you continue to support those long-term, for long-term? Would you train new personnel on obsolete equipment? I think that would be a little bit of a waste of money and time, but sometimes you have to. Where will you buy those components? Unfortunately, we do see some companies buying on eBay, things like that, but of course, most of the time those components don't work because they are just off, the gray market or you name it. It's just basically a high risk. So this are just a few questions that make you think about modernization. They also say that the cost of downtime sometimes, it's something I should say that everyone is concerned about. It doesn't matter what type of industry, what type of product we're talking about. In ARC, the same company in 2015, they documented a cost of $20 billion of unscheduled downtime associated with aging and obsolete equipment, not counting the lack of support contracts and related things for support. This is a very interesting one. According to a report from McKinsey & Company, manufacturing of industrial operations generate more data than any industrial sector. However, most of that data, as we know, is just used for diagnostics and alarming. So there is no benefit of getting that data for improvements on production. In other words, it's just capturing the data and throwing it away. No different than printing a report and then throwing it away that we have seen in many places. Very few companies in the US have completely integrated systems. That is less than 14%. So, there are a lot of factors that basically have this number way down. And as much as 21% have suffered loss of their intellectual property. As an example, I have a couple of customers, OEMs, that have sold their systems to end users. And in one particular case, the end user modified the program and modified few wiring systems in that machine, and they patented them under the name. So that was pretty bad for the OEM who built this system. The bottom line is that risk is always there, and it can be serious results from incidents, malicious and unintentional. So we have to be careful about that situation. 92% of the companies are not ready to modernize due to different factors like budget, production, that line is always running and they cannot stop it. Experienced people have retired and nobody knows where the wiring diagrams are, where the PLC program is. Lack of experience, of course, the new people, and they'll have experience on older technologies. 50% of executives and managers say that modernizing would be useful. For sure, modernizing those systems would make those systems more efficient, productive, therefore more profitable. It is very difficult sometimes to know where to start, but you can count on us, to be there to assist you with the migration. Components and equipment like technology have a life cycle and will experience this discontinuation at this point. But personally, to me, it seems like older equipment lasts longer. I can just think about PLC5s, 1336 drives, SLCs that would last forever. Basically, we still have a lot of customers with those, and they don't want to change them because they work. I can always think about an old vehicle from the 70s that didn't have any safety, they didn't have any protection. However, they would last forever because we could do the maintenance. The metal frame was way, way better than today's. However, today's vehicles, they have a lot of protection. They have airbags. They have anti-theft mechanisms. So, very, very similar to automation. Limited parts availability due to obsolescence and increasing support costs are related to each other. As with the subject expert attrition, the risk of incurring in high maintenance costs is very likely, as the cost will be increasing annually at a high rate. As a sample, PLC5s today can be repaired or exchanged. We have a department that can assist with that. However, those are very, very costly. They cost like 3-4 times more than the smallest control logic processor. During pandemic, as another sample, the MicroLogix 1400 has been declared end of life when it was supposed to be available for like at least 5 more years from now. But due to the lack of components, Arrival had made that difficult decision to obsolete that very popular controller. The risk of downtime caused by product obsolescence, knowingly or unknowingly, far outweigh the initial inertia of modernization. Having a proper plan of modernization will mitigate the risk, and businesses can experience a smooth transition during this phase. We're prepared at OneSource and ready to assist you with executing the migration plan. This company, World Economics Forum, defined 3 megatrends in collaboration with another company called McKinsey. And those trends are connectivity, intelligence, and flexibility. But of course, security is going to be on the top of this because this is what everyone is concerned about, security. Connectivity is no longer having just a sensor connected into an input in the PLC and then turn a light on and off. We need more information. We have smart devices that like sensors, distributed I/O modules that can make decisions on their own without having to have a PLC make that decision. Data is nothing meaningful without the understanding of it. Intelligence is now built into those components, as I mentioned before. We have drives, sensors that can do that. As a sample of in flexible automation, we can mention that code written for either Logix controllers or HMIs can be easily migrated into other devices within the families, minimizing the configuration time. So this way, you can have a very flexible system doing multiple things. As a sample, we have like VFDs that can use the ADC automatic device configuration, be automatically configured once they are plugged into a system, into a network via Ethernet, and then the control logics will send all the information that is needed. Control devices must have a full security scheme, allowing them to protect not only personal safety, but also IP, data, and so on. Today, most of Rockwell products have this feature and hardware available, like dual Ethernet ports, redundancy, and digital signed firmware. And all of these features support these drivers that I just mentioned. We don't expect anyone to try to find the perfect path to modernize a system. I would just like you to realize that modernization projects are indeed complicated, way more difficult than putting a brand new system together, but no worries. We have the expertise to assist you. We at OneSource assist our customers with modernization challenges almost every day, and it's part of our business. It is a part of our business, and we're ready to assist. So now we have just given some basic information. So what are my options right now? We do have a lot of information that shortly Jeff and Matt will cover. But basically, we just have to do 3 basic steps. We have to assess, we have to plan, and we have to execute. In order to assess, we need to find out what we have, life cycle of the assets, spare parts, software inventory, and so on. We need to plan, we need to find out what the options are, figure the timeline, and determine how we approach the project, and then how to execute it. You do it in-house? Do you hire a system integrator? Do you hire Rockwell services? Those are some of the questions that have to be answered. Okay. Questions so far? Yes, you are on.
Okay. As Sergio had mentioned, I'm Jeff Morrell. I'm our solutions consultant for professional services with OneSource. So some of the things, just as a brief kind of intro, that our team gets involved with, we do infrastructure assessments, both for your industrial components, as well as various network services that would include like an industrial network and cybersecurity assessments. We also offer drive startup, drive validation services. We do capacitor reforming for any of your VFDs. And we just started to offer leak detection audits. So those are some of the things that our team is involved with. We also provide consulting services. So if you get involved with a specific project and say you need some help sourcing resources, we can help assist with finding delivery partners. So we've kind of built an ecosystem network over time that we can help. So if that includes, Sergio mentioned maybe making an introduction to a a system integrator, or we've had some crazy other things with like staff augmentation. We're there to assist you guys to find those partners. So today, as Sergio mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about one of the infrastructure assessments, which is the installed evaluation. And this is a service that we work on with Rockwell. We're an authorized service provider, meaning that we've got trained technicians to help deliver the service. And really, that's the way to look at it. It's an audit. I mean, I think when Sergio pointed out the first part, 3 little pillars that we look at when the assess, plan, and execute, the installed base evaluation really kind of falls into the assess, and then the deliverables help us with that planning. And then I had mentioned our professional consulting services. That's where we can help you execute. But this is kind of a starting point, really, with the IDE. Okay, it's a report delivered service where you can really look at where you have obsolescence in your installed base, and as well as in your storeroom. So it's really a really powerful planning tool that we offer. So if you want to move to the next slide, Sergio. Sergio, there you go. Sorry, a little bit of latency there. So why perform an IBE? I think the best way to look at, like I said, it's a planning tool to really give you a snapshot of what you have. Okay, so we're really looking at areas where we've got legacy equipment that's either maybe it's supported by Rockwell or maybe it's not anymore because it's just so old. You know, Sergio points out like a lot of the Slick 500s and or the 1336 drives. You know, there's still quite a number of those in place. You know, and if you don't really know where some of that legacy items is in your plant and it goes down, you know, what's your plan to get you back up and running? Okay, so it's a really good insight to show you that as well. You know, from that you can build you know, any of the maintenance plans together to support critical spares as well. So like I said, the bottom line is that definitely gives you broader visibility to your plant assets. Next slide there, Sergio. So what's included? So there's a number of different reports that are included, both from an overall executive summary that I'll show you here in a minute, which is more PowerPoint driven. But then it actually has workable and editable tools with built in more of an MS Excel, so you can really manipulate and sort through certain areas. Okay, so a lot of it is really built on a product lifecycle status that I'll show you here in just a minute. But it really helps you locate these areas of legacy obsolescence risk in your plant operations. As well, we look at doing an analysis and an audit of your storeroom to make sure you have the right spares. On top of that, when we're doing that storeroom audit, it actually will tell you, hey, you've got excess spares or maybe inactive spares that are not really supporting your plant operation. So it's a way to really clean up that storeroom. Look and trying to find actually valid parts in your storeroom that are going to support your operations. And the bottom line, it really gives from an execution standpoint, a really helpful tool for planning for a lot of this modernization for your operations. Next slide there, Serge. So what's the process? So we've got a couple technicians within our team that are trained to provide the service, and what that service would start with is field collection. So they actually go on site, and what they're doing is they're actually going through each control panel and identifying those Rockwell items. And in some cases we can do third party, but they're capturing all the data like your PLCs, your HMIs, you know, any of your drives, things like that. Okay, they grab all that information electronically, and then we upload that into Rockwell's cloud, and then Rockwell does their thing where they analyze and put together these series of reports. And then that next step is that delivery process where we actually sit down with you to not only go over the findings, but actually teach you how to use this tool so you can, you know, go through it, kind of sort it the way you want. So that's kind of an idea with the process. A typical IBE, to give you an idea, so we can typically do about 30 panels a day. Okay, and just to give a point of reference, so each panel typically has anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 worth of automation equipment that we capture, repairable stuff. Okay, next, Serge. So I was mentioning the lifecycle status. This is Rockwell's definition of how they view product. You guys may or may not have seen this. You can actually go onto the Rockwell site and put in a part number, right, and it'll tell you where it is. This service is, we're just doing that for you for everything that you have. So it's and putting it in a searchable report. So it starts on the top end with active, and then goes down the line, you know, end of life and discontinued. And those are really areas that we help focus and try to look at how we can either, you know, modernize those items or come up with some type of support plan if they do break down. Okay, next, Serge. So the deliverables I'd mentioned, The first part of it, it's a high level executive summary, PowerPoint. You can see there that there's various points that look at the overall facility, kind of give you an idea, like say in red, of where there might be some issues in your operations, and then we look at that same analysis of what you have in your inventory. Okay, we actually provide a look at your control panel. Okay, it's more of an environmental report. So we're looking at grounding, heat, any loose wire, stuff like that. And then we also provide another report that looks at the condition of your spare parts, right? I mean, I know a lot of people have those situations where they have open box spares or might be dust there. So that the analysis will go there and can identify maybe problems areas in your spare parts. Okay, next, Serge. So the lifecycle reports, this is like really the meat of this service, or the meat of the IDE, and these are like I said, Excel-based reports that are, you can go and you can sort through very easily. It's based on a hierarchical approach where we're taking a look at starting with the building, the location, and it boils all the way down to what the control panel is and what the name of the control panel. So very easily you can search through, hey, in this particular area, where is my obsolete product? It takes literally about 10 seconds. You can go through, search the report and see where you have problems with it, okay? So what our team does is we build what we call an infrastructure planning report at the end of it. And that infrastructure planning report really kind of identifies where those key areas that we think you should focus on, and with your input as well. And then we have our product specialist team that will help us either look at different options for your migration plan. Okay, so that's no cost that we charge you. That's just a service that we lay on top of that. The last thing too I'll mention is that beyond just having these reports delivered electronically and via Excel, is that Rockwell does offer their service called My Equipment, where all this data can be populated into their cloud. So you could actually have a couple, 2 or 3 of your team members within your operations access that data. And what it does as well is it's constantly monitoring the life cycle. So if you have an IDE done today, and then 6 months from now, maybe one of those items that are on the report, if it's moving through its life cycle category, it'll automatically change that, and you can have access to that. So it's another good service there to point out. So that's my last slide, but if there's any questions, or if any of you want to see a live demo, feel free to reach out to one of us or your account managers. We'd be happy to set some time up to show you what the actual report looks like. And that's all I had. Thanks, team.
Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Wright, and so I'm going to go over some of the items that we see most often that are more relevant items that are moving through that life cycle status from a end of life to a discontinued. So on this first slide here, you could see that the PLC5 is end of life. It's been an end of life for quite a while, as most of you probably know. And then we also the 1771 IO. MicroLogics, most of those MicroLogics have now moved into discontinued. The 1400 is probably the only one left that's still in is actually just moved into an end of life status just recently. We also have the 1326 motors, the panel view standards, which are actually discontinued, our 1557 medium voltage drives. And then you can see over here on the right, these are all items that are definitely discontinued. Like we had mentioned previously, the 1336 drives, which had a very large install base. There's still a lot of these drives out there in support. And then the 1305s, the 1395 DC drives, our 1394 servo drives, along with some other servos that have just recently moved into the discontinued status. So these are just a small sample of what's out there. And like Jeff said, running an IBE report will identify all these items, because, I think most of us, of the end users, they're aware of some of the items that are obsolete, but when you do that IBE report, it actually identifies everything. Some things that you may not even realize that are discontinued, and that's really the beauty of that service. Next slide. So in the motor control arena, we've got the E1 plus overloads that you can see down here at the bottom. Those were discontinued of April 21. Those are being replaced with the E100 electronic overload relays. So basically, the E100s have increased accuracy and repeatability, current measurement based on protection, electronic design with thermal memory, phase loss protection, very low heat dissipation, keep your panels a little bit cooler. They're a rugged design with a wide current adjustment range, so you kind of cuts down on the number of replacement overloads that you need to keep in stock. There's some different optional versions like a pass-through design, and then the adjustable trip classes, reset modes, ground fault, jam protection, an external control transformer configuration. So there's a lot more versatility with the E100s. Next slide. So now we're looking at the motor protection circuit breakers. So a lot of people are very familiar with the 140M. The 140M has been around for 20 plus years. There's no possibility of improving the product features at a reasonable cost, and that's why Rockwell has come out with the 140M MP. And the MT, or the MT. And so these are very similar in form factor and appearance. So these, the MTs that are currently available today, and they're taking over for the 140Ms. And then in the contactor arena, we have the new 100E contactors that are replacing the 100Cs. The 100Es have a larger, they have like a universal voltage for the coils. So there's, you can get less spare parts or order less parts for different coil voltages. One coil voltage could cover a whole range, like for DC 24, I think up to like 200 volts. For AC, that would cover 24 volts up to 240 volts. So there's some, it cuts down on part numbers. And then in the overload, what we just spoke about on the previous slide, you know, the E1 Plus is being replaced with the E100, but we also have the E200 and the E300, which is a communication-based overload unit that communicates on DeviceNet and Ethernet, allows control over Ethernet for the contactor, has some really great features, a lot of data that can be collected from these overloads by connecting them over Ethernet. Next slide. And then in the smart motor control or soft starts, you know, the SMC Flex is now being replaced by the SMC50. So this unit has an internal bypass. It also has application scalability, normal and heavy duty ratings, expandable I/O and sensor capability, network integration, Ethernet. It has a LCD HIM module that's replaceable, where the SMC Flex is a built-in LCD HIM module. This one is replaceable, which means you can use the copycat feature to move parameters from one soft start to the next. It also has 17 different start-stop modes and 3 slow speed modes. Next slide. So in the frequency drives, like we had mentioned, over in the bottom left, these are some of the legacy products that are obsolete. The 160 drives, the 1305s, and 1336s. So these are migrating to the more current and relevant drives, the PowerFlex 520 series, which includes the 523, the 525 and the 527. And then also the PowerFlex 750s, which would be the replacements for the 1336 drives. So there's the PowerFlex 753 and the 755, depending on which 1336 drive that you're looking to replace. Some of the advantages with these newer drives is some of them have safety built in, safe torque off, which is not available like on the older drives. Some of them have smaller footprint, more power. There's a lot more features and controls available. In the next slide. Now with our kinetics, our motion products, you can see over here on the left side, these are some of the legacy products. The Kinetics 300 is now obsolete. The Ultra 3000, Kinetics 350, Kinetics 2000, just a few of them. And you can see that over to the right is our migration path for these servo drives. The Kinetics 300 would migrate to the Kinetics 5100, which the Kinetics 5100 is a standalone servo drive. So this drive has Ethernet capability, but can act as a standalone drive with digital and analog controls. It has its own programming software, but also can be integrated into Logix and even into the microcontrollers. The Ultra 3000, because this had network capabilities with DeviceNet and Circos, but was typically used as a standalone application. It would be replaced by the Kinetics 5100 also. And this, just so you know, the 5100 is one of the newer drives that does support, PTO, pulse train output, step and direction, besides being controlled over Ethernet. And all the newer drives have dual port Ethernet standard, so they support DLR connectivity. So then next on the Kinetics 350, which is a SIP drive that uses a logic controller with motion capabilities and motion instructions, very simple to set up and control. That drive would be replaced with the Kinetics 5300. 5300 is an integrated motion drive. Like I said, this works with logic controllers only, and those controllers have to support motion. So like with the compact Logix, it would be an ERM controller, and also with control Logix, using a Ethernet bridge that supports motion. And then we also have the 5500 and the 5700, which are more advanced drives than the 5300, with different voltages and busing abilities for larger applications with larger axes count. Okay, next slide. So with the microcontrollers, so as you know, we spoke about earlier, the MicroLogix. So the 1000 is obsolete, the 1200 is now obsolete, the 1100, 1400 is moved into end of life status. It will be around there. Just one issue that Rockwell is having is chip availability, as most of you know. So that's why they announced that to be at end of life, even though the discontinuation won't be until 2030. So these microcontrollers, there's two migration paths, right? And it really depends on which controller you're modernizing, so the first path is the micro 850s and 870s. This would be more of a migration path if you had a MicroLogix 1000 or a 1200. That the 1000s were fixed units. The 850 does support almost just under 300 IO count, has built-in Ethernet, is a great replacement. And one thing that's not also mentioned in this MicroLogix is the 1500. And the 1500s actually are a good the compact logics is a good migration solution for that, because the 5370 compact logics uses the same compact IO as the 1500. The 1400, its IO, there's no current unit that will use that IO, so that, you know, if you have any expandable IO on the 1400, 1100, you're going to have to migrate that IO also. But depending on the size of the application and what the application is, you know, you could migrate with either the 850 or with compact logics. There's actually conversion tools for micrologics to logics. So sometimes compact logics is an easier migration solution with the conversion tool. So anyways, then we move down to the SLIC 500s, which are active, mature, and have been in that state for quite a while. So those migration opportunities would be either to compact logics or control logics. You know, if you have very large IO counts on your system with multiple chassis, you know, control logics would be a good solution. We've got some hardware tools to help with these migrations to reuse some of the existing IO, or we have these 1746 A&ET module. So you could use a compact or a control logics and then pick up all the existing SLIC IO over Ethernet using that AET Ethernet adapter to kind of cut down on the amount of work required to migrate that system. But the one thing I do want to point out is that because the SLICs are in a end of life state, the IO cost is extremely high, and of all the components for the SLICs. So a lot of times it makes sense to migrate the whole system, including IO. And then obviously the PLC 5s, those are a direct migration to the control logics. Next slide. Okay, network longevity. So along with hardware, we have some networks that are actually discontinued, no longer supported, or legacy. At the top here, these are probably the three most popular, is the Data Highway Plus, DH485, and Remote IO. These are all legacy networks. You'll see a lot of these with the SLICs and the PLC 5s. A lot of times your 1336 drives are connected on a remote IO. And then the next one is ControlNet, which is end of life, not used by too many people these days. And then DeviceNet is the same thing. There's a lot of DeviceNet still out there, but no one is implementing it in new systems. And then at the bottom is what we currently are moving everybody towards, is Ethernet IP. And I think most of you are aware of that and the reasons why. Next slide. Okay, now the panel views. So here we have the panel view standards, which are the ones in the black on the left side here. We have the panel view pluses, panel view plus 6s. These three are all obsolete products. They're discontinued. So the migration solution for these is the panel view plus 7. And you can see here, then we do have some adapter plates that if the older product cutout is not the right size for your migration solution to the panel view plus, there is some adapter plates available to make your conversion much simpler. Next slide. Then also we got the RSView 32, or as like a distributed HMI solution, which is migrated now to the FactoryTalk View SC. Basically, your development environment is RSView 32 Works was the software you used on your RSView 32 applications. That kind of moves to FactoryTalk View Studio. I'm sorry, this is Studio or Enterprise actually. So single station runtime. So RSView 30 runtime to FactoryTalk View SC Station. The one difference is that with RSView, your runtime was based on tag count, with the FactoryTalk View SC, it's based on displays. That's one of the main factors. Next slide. So FactoryTalk View SC benefits, obviously quicker application development because of faceplates, global objects, and docked displays. You can set up redundancy for HMI servers, RSLinks data server, FactoryTalk alarms and event servers, live data and direct reference tags, optimized communication, error handling. There's a lot of benefits for migrating to SC. Next slide. And so I just want to mention real quick, I know we're running out of time, is a Step Forward program. So Rockwell has the Step Forward program to actually help you in your migration solutions. So what this does is this will give you credit for your old hardware. So you can actually receive credit when you replace a PLC 5 and put that towards your new product, Control Logic, Compact Logics. This also works with the software too, because you're obviously going to migrate your software to support the newer product. And it also, you can use the Step Forward to upgrade your existing software. If you have Studio 5000, let's say standard edition, and you want to move to professional, you can actually get a credit towards purchasing the professional license. Next slide. So as Jeff had mentioned, Rockwell has a tool on their website, and you can access this tool under the support tab, and it's the Lifecycle Status. Basically, you can see in the search bar there, you plug in the part number that you want to check the lifecycle status on, and it will show you the results. So here's the results. So here's the product, and right below it, you can see the lifecycle status. This is discontinued, and below that, it'll tell you the discontinue date. And if there's a replacement, it'll be listed here. So this is a great tool if you're not quite sure what lifecycle status your piece of the asset is in. Next slide. And that's it. So we did it right on time. I think, has anybody checked? Do we have any questions at this time?
Hey, Matt, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, that was like drinking from a fire hose. So if I can have just 1 minute, I was going to show those web links so they can see, where to go back and research this stuff and look at it. I can show you 3 tabs here that'll make your life a lot simpler. If I could share my screen.
And we do have a question from Bob, as well as Polina Martinez.
Yeah,
so
let's
maybe Bob, if you want to unmute and you can ask.
Yeah, go ahead and ask your question while Bill's setting up here.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually have a couple of questions. One, does Step Forward, does that apply for to spare parts that are, when you come in and during your audit, you find,
I believe it does, Sergio, because I mean, those
not directly through his spare parts, but I think Jeff has some ways to work on that through some special contracts under some services that they can take or buy. I think, Jeff, why don't you please explain this a little bit better than us?
Yeah, so what it is, Bob, is that if you've got a product that's obsolete in your storeroom, Rockwell will look, basically we'll get the part numbers, we'll send it back, and Rockwell will analyze it and then provide a credit. It's not going to be a one-to-one credit. It's typically a percentage of that. And then you can use that credit for like future equipment repairs. So say, for example, say you had a drive that was not working, but you want to get it back to a warranted status so you have it working. And then say you've got $5,000 worth of obsolete part that you're not going to support in your operations anymore. You can send that back, and then Rockwell will give you credit for any future repairs. But it's not a one-to-one replacement, but it is something, right, to kind of help.
Yeah, I understand. Also, then a quick comment. I'm really happy to see DeviceNet reaching the end of its life. And a comment about the the migration tool from micro to control logics. I've only had to use it once, and honestly, I probably should have rewritten from scratch. Is the things that it doesn't migrate, it ends up causing me to lose confidence, and so I ended up going through everything essentially and confirming whether or not it migrated properly or not. So I think that tool might still need a little work.
Yeah,
Bob, that
you know-
is correct. Unfortunately, the migration translate the old program exactly the way it was.
I
So when
understand,
you are
yeah.
doing that, you're not using the full horsepower of the Logix system, right? So it just sees what it's out there, and then it translates it into the same format. So yeah, the tool sometimes is really good when you have limited time to do the migration. But if you have the time and the experience to start from scratch on the Logix system, that is way better option to go through.
Well, it adds a lot of comments though too. While during the migration, like there are some warnings, I guess, in the comments about, especially around PID kind of stuff, where they're so different between the old stuff and the newer stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, this is Matt. Yeah. When you're doing slick migrations, I mean, on the bigger systems like the slicks with a lot of I/O, the tool actually works pretty well, because you may have to change some of your I/O around, and you can actually create placeholders instead of doing direct I/O replacement. But like you said, the good thing is it does identify the objects that don't migrate across directly, and lets you be aware of that so you can make whatever corrections, because obviously, between the two platforms, there are some differences in instructions. Some instructions are available, some are not. But on the bigger system, it does save you a lot of time. But like on the micros, yeah, sometimes it's easier just to rewrite in the new platform.
and to be fair, I inherited a project that was like halfway done, and then the guy disappeared. So there was a little extra challenge involved in that one. So
Well, it's always interesting because I've come across people that have done these conversions and go on to the new controller, and all I see is addresses. There's no descriptions. So it's like starting from scratch. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's always good
Perfect.
to import the descriptions, or make sure that you add the descriptions in these migrations if you use the conversion tool.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Paulina, go ahead with
was not available.
I'm sorry.
So it was like, okay, what is B1437? I wonder what that refers to. So it was a little extra challenge here. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm done.
Thanks, Bob.
Paulina,
Paulina,
did you still have a question?
Yes, I do. Most of my questions were answered, so thank you for for answering all those previous questions. But I was wondering if we could get a copy of that the slideshow you showed us, because some of the data over there are going to be very helpful for when I have to file for a migration.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah, we're going to hand out the slide deck that has links to it. And also, I just want everybody to know, the customers that are on, is that, if you have a migration opportunity and you need some assistance, us as the specialists, we're more than happy to come out and look at your migration and help you select a path, not only hardware, but kind of assist you in what's necessary to do that migration.
Yes, that would be so awesome because we have a lot of legacy, and that's why I'm in this. But yes, that would be having the contact information would be very helpful as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adrian, do we have anybody else?
No, questions? I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Besides, if Bill wanted to show something.
Yeah, I think let's let Bill show how to get to the lifecycle status. Bill, you're on. You're muted.
How about that? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but we're not. There you go. There you go.
Okay, like I said, that was a lot of info and some good slides, but I'm just going to show you a couple of just practical things where they can do some more research and look up stuff on their own here. Again, some of the little tricks. So the first one I want to say is just www.ab.com is a great source for everything. And when you do that, it will take you to the rockwellautomation.com. But that's harder to spell. So this is their main homepage. But like I say, everybody says I can't figure out the Rockwell site. So first rule of thumb is scroll down. All right. There is a ton of stuff. Some of these are the links we go to all the time to find good information. And then they show new products like Spark Manufacturing, more new products here that's come out. You can see lots of good stuff. And then if you want to view more, and then see technical documentation, release notes, product drawings, knowledge base and literature library are two of our big tools that we use all the time. And again, some more blogs, success stories. This is a handy, the latest essential components catalog has the new products. Not a lot of technical detail, but this is the more go-to items. If you want to see what's new and cool and what's happening, this is where it's at, right? So go find that. There are none of those big, the industrial control catalogs that you're used to and all that, not happening, right? So that was the first thing. So again, it's a long scroll down to find a lot of stuff here. So the next thing is up here, you have some of these, like the products, right? If you know kind of what you're looking for, you got to know kind of some of the A/B speak there, but that'll get you. Support had that migration and modernization, so that takes you to a page for that. Lifecycle status, product replacement lookup, some of this stuff, it's all right here on the main page here, right? And then this right here. So this again, this is a lot of our tools that they were looking at, that product lifecycle status, 3D, 2 and 3D drawings if you want to find that. But again, that compatibility and downloads, you want to make sure your version of software works with that product and stuff. That's where we go get that. And this product selection toolbox, this is our electronic catalog. So I just wanted to show you some of those. But the other nice secret thing here is just this little search box right there, right? So I do that. But what I did, I typed in, one was modernization, right? So I typed in that, and again, it takes you to some of the stuff we can do that Jeff talked about: storeroom management, asset reliability, installed base evaluations, modernization services, those tools, the Slick 500 and PLC 5 migration. So all that stuff that they were showing you in those slides, this is where you go find all this good stuff, right? And again, scroll down, there's videos here, where to begin, how to find this good stuff, develop a plan, some little videos and some ideas. How to get there. So this is where you go: Slick 500, the PLC 5, that RSView. So all that stuff that he was talking about in the slides, good info. And again, here's about prolonging your lifetime of your assets, and good stuff there. The other one I typed in was migration tools. So again, you've got the knowledge base, product lifestyle status, our proposal works, the lifetime to download center. So again, this, if you just, like I say, keep scrolling down, there's a lot more info down below what you just see at the top, right? And again, all these different links up here will get you to different things there. And then the other one we find you're seeing a lot of now is the smart devices, smart machines, smart manufacturing. Again, this is when, if you're going to update and modernize, this is where you get access to all that data that Sergio was talking about, and some analytics, some OEE stuff, and how you get to all that with our smart devices. And again, we talk about smart manufacturing, and then, whoops, go back here. Oh, come on. There you go. Smart devices, smart machines. So this, and we talk about safety too. Safety is big in our world now. So, and then also SIP safety and cybersecurity is the other big one you will see down here somewhere. So smart safety, smart sensors, smart devices. Again, here is all some of that stuff that's going. You want to look at our drives, there's our smart drives, our smart sensors, the controllers, the HMIs, and then how all this stuff works. This is idea, what that data does for you and how it makes your factory more efficient, and You can do predictive and preventive maintenance instead of the reactive stuff. So they're good little videos and just tons of information if you scroll down. And the other big one that was on here was cybersecurity was in one of these things had a really big stuff about cybersecurity, and that's huge in our world now. And you see what Rockwell does, and the standards they live to make sure that you don't get hacked and end up on somebody's ransomware list. Okay, so that's the main thing I want to show you. Just ab.com, and then start using some of these links up here, but be sure to scroll down and look at these tabs across the middle, and to find all that good info that they were just showing you. All right, so that was it.
Hey, Bill, I
Perfect.
just want
Bill, thank you so much. Great information. Again, if there are no other questions, thank you so much for joining us. And as Matt mentioned, as soon as we, I think we're going to be sending through our marketing department a survey for feedback, so that we can make it better every time. And once you go through that, you will receive a link to the presentation that we used today.
Cool. Perfect.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
sir,
It was a
Bill.
lot of good information.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining today.
Glad to assist.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was fun. We should do it again.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Great job, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.